I just spent $200 on this watch so that I know what time it is. It's also supposed to help me run better. So let me test that out. Look at that brand new, currently not being used track. As the title of the video spoiled, my next challenge is the 5K. I'm gonna do 5,000 5K runs. They're not all going to be like events that give you t-shirts like this one. Some of them are just going to be me running around a track for 5K or around the block, etc. I'm going to do a bunch of different ways, keep it fun and interesting. It's going to take many years. This is episode 1. I don't know how many runs I'll put in it. Probably depends on how long the video is going to be, but that's going to be my challenge. I'm not really a runner, but I might be by the time this is over. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to record all of them. Part of the reason why I bought the watch was to avoid having to bring my phone on runs, but I'll try to record a bit of this one and some of them as we go. Keep it interesting. I don't really have a goal. I did do a 10K last week, and my splits were 37 minutes each. So I guess 37 would be a good baseline for today. There will be walking, obviously, 37 minutes. Eventually hope to get to the point where there's no walking, but that's not going to be today. So let's start it. 5K number 1, the first track 5K of my life, actually. Join me on my cooldown walk. I did walk not because my legs needed it, although they're dead tired, but because my heart rate was in the red at 175. I don't know what a good heart rate is, but I assume red is bad, or at least high, because there's no color higher than red on the watch. So I walked to bring that down. Overall, it was fun. Total time was, I don't know at the moment, but it's currently at 38 minutes. My max heart rate was 178 yesterday. So today's 5K, I'm gonna run dirty 30s. Gonna be walking a lot more, gonna be a lot slower. Hopefully I can find zone 2. We'll see. Super boring, but the max heart rate was 162, average of 149. It's much better. It's kind of drizzling a little bit, but not raining hard enough that I want to categorize it as my first rain run. So it's going to be my first aid station 5K. My first race adjacent 5K. I am right next to an ultramarathon. I'm going to try to do this in 4 walk breaks, 1 per kilometer, with 60 seconds rest in between. That means I have another 20 seconds of walking to go. Today is my first road 5K. That's when you run in the road instead of the sidewalk. I went for my first night 5K tonight. I wanted to focus on moving my arms quicker to see if I could run with a higher cadence. Not necessarily going faster, just moving my feet faster. But I knew I'd end up running faster, so I decided to take a minute walk after every kilometer. Ended up running more than a minute faster than before, so it made up for the walking time and hit a new PB. My first of many standard boring run that doesn't really have a category. Just kidding. It was my first run where my shoelace came untied. Today I ran around the block. Every time I got to the street, I turned left to stay on the sidewalk. It was just over 4 laps, and I'm probably never going to do it again. The sidewalk was sloped to the right, and it was really uncomfortable and aggravating to my ankle and hip. My first trail run. That was terrible. Within the first half kilometer, I fell and skinned my hand. Not too bad, but I don't know if you're allowed to show blood on YouTube. It didn't like gouge it, just skinned it, so it's not too bad, but it's super dirty, and it was on my mind. And then the trail disappeared, and by the end of 5K, I didn't know where I was, except that I was nowhere near the car. So I did my first double length 10K, and actually finished at like 9.9 when I got to my car, so almost perfect. Tip for people who are struggling to run slower, which I was, is to find yourself some wood chips. A trail paved in wood chips. It's so easy to run slow there. I was able to do 8-minute kilometers, which sounds slow, but they kept my heart rate under 170, which was the goal. That was my first, and possibly the world's first ever hard-boiled egg 5K, where I ate an egg after every kilometer, except for the last one. I still got that to go. It was not my best idea, but it was an idea. My first back and forth run. I don't know how long this trail is, but I think it's less than a kilometer. Much less. I just got back from my first no walking break. It went well. Max heart rate was 170, but only because there was a big long hill. The average was 160, which I think is my best so far. It's not zone 2, but I don't have a zone 2, so we're getting there. Although my knees do kind of hurt from running so slowly. I'm excited to see the charts now that they don't have to take those outlier walking stats into consideration. I am 2K into my run today. Supposed to be at my easy pace, which is 8-minute kilometer. I did it at 7, and it's super sunny, so I'm a little more out of breath than I want to be, because today I'm going to find out how fast I am. I intentionally have not run fast. I haven't run better than 6-minute kilometer, which is quite slow. It's like a slow jog. Because I've exercise-induced asthma, and I didn't want to trigger my asthma because it takes hours to go away. But now my watch thinks that a 6-minute kilometer is my sprinting pace, which is kind of insulting. So I'm going to find out if it's true or not by doing 100-meter runs. I'm going to do it at 6:30, 6.5-minute kilometer, then 6-minute kilometer, then 5:30. Go down as low as I can until I decide to stop, which will be after either I trigger my asthma or I decide I can't run any faster, or both. The asthma will definitely come first, but we'll see if I can keep going until I get both. Anyway, that's a lot of talking compared to usual, so here's my running. That did not work. My original plan was to do it on a track and then use the turn to build up the speed and then do the whole straightaway at a constant speed. This track is not good for that though. So I did it here, and the watch didn't register my speed until I was like halfway done, and then I was hella fast. I did a 5-minute kilometer and then a 4:20, and both of them didn't trigger the asthma, so I'm thinking I have to run longer to do it, because I definitely have never ran like that in my life. But it's good to know that my legs can move at a 4:20 pace. Blaze it. No first of anything today. I redid the last run in a better way. I used my watch to do 200-meter intervals of running at my sprint pace, which was below 540 minutes per kilometer for the on, and then for the off, just a jog. And it was brutal, but I can still breathe, and a new 5K PB. My first cemetery run. Just got done work and I'm kind of bored, so I'm strapping back on for my second session in 1 day run. Running does not help with anxiety. Doesn't make it worse, but it's not making it better. Well, I nailed my 7-minute kilometer pace at least. 7 times 5 is 35, in case you're wondering. We're gonna call that my first run with a cool down because I didn't end at my door. Have a little bit of a walk / jog. Today will be my first run with bonus miles. I've always been running in an increment of 5K or the 110K and ending as soon as I hit 5K. Today I'm gonna do 6 or 7. It's not 10, so it only counts as 1. And the time will just be for the 5K segment, not the whole run. My first official 5K race. My goal is a sub 30 PB. That was brutal, trying to hold the pace going up hills. The time, I don't have the official time, but I saw 29 on the clock when I crossed the line. But my watch said I only ran 4.88 meters. So, is it a PB or was it not even a 5K? Don't know how to score this one. Today is my first run with a heart rate monitor. The reason that I've been running such inconsistent times is because most of my runs are intentionally slow. And I'm running based off of heart rate. So I figured if I'm going to use that as my metric, I should get a more accurate one than what's on my wrist. So slightly inconvenient. Not sure how tight this is supposed to be. But let's go do the first heart rate strap run. My first run in a rich neighborhood. Look how wide these streets are. There's no better way to say you have a nice house than to have a street this wide. Because it shows that you don't even want to have a front yard. You're fine with having a 5-lane street with parking on both sides, even though you have a driveway. Because your house is just so nice. My first hotel 5K. Easy work. Let's do another. Well, sweaty work, but easy work. That was my second 10K since starting this challenge, and the first one that I ran without stopping. Let's compare that to the 10K that I ran before this challenge. It was this many days ago. and this many 5Ks ago. And this is what the pace chart looked like. Lots of stops. And this one was, I think that was 1:15. Yeah, because I did 37-minute splits. So this one was only 8 minutes faster, which seems like a small number, but I guess it was 10% faster, which is also a small number, but regardless, I think that's significant improvement. And I think I'm going to show you how much sweat is in my shirt right now. I hope this actually drips something. Okay, something came out of it. It's a lot, trust me. Time for the first roller coaster 5K. I'm going to be going back and forth, up and down these hills. I'll take you for the first lap here. Okay, I don't know how hills show on the camera, but it's hilly. That was 0.9 kilometer in 5 minutes. I'm gonna have to walk a little bit though. It's not a low heart rate training effort, so whatever time I get, even though it's slow, I worked for it. All right, back to running. 175 heart rate. I do not like heart rate zone 4, and I feel like I'm gonna die when I'm in 5. That's why I only spent 2.5 minutes in 5, but I spent almost 19 in 4. 5K feels a lot shorter the day after a 10K. I'm gonna need to find time to fit longer runs in. Who locks a field? I mean, for real. Clearly that was staged, and this is not my first breaking and entering 5K. Who would record themselves doing that? Today's my first negative split 5K. Each kilometer is going to be faster than the one before it. Hopefully. Obviously the first lap's slow. They were negative splits, although the pacing leaves a little bit to be desired. But that heart rate consistency though. First run in 90-degree weather, except I don't want to be running in a drenched shirt again, so it's actually the first shirtless run, and I'm going to do it in the woods as well. Oh my gosh, I miss having a shirt to wipe the sweat off my face so much. Especially when I fell and got my hands all dirty. That's fun though, pretty shaded, not sunburned. So I'm gonna go do another lap, which will be super slow because I'm 6 kilometers in right now and I didn't pause it for this. And I need a drink. That was my first sloshing 5K. This much that I drank in one gulp was apparently too much, and I felt it in my stomach the entire time. Today is my first I know how to word it, but I've ran every day for the last 7 days. 2 of those were 10Ks, so significantly higher volume than the others. And tomorrow I'm finally taking a rest. My legs feel fine, although today they're super tired. Probably the most tired they've been all week, because I'm trying to keep a 170 cadence instead of my normal 155, which is exhausting. But my heart rate is still 150, which is low for me. So that's good, that's progress. Provided I can do it, today will be my first shell jump 5K. What that means is I'm going to be playing my Nintendo Switch here, Mario Maker 2, and I will be attempting to do a shell jump while running. Today is Global Running Day, so let's celebrate by having my first 5K in new shoes. I got the first ones that were labeled running shoe, the something by someone. Also today, the air quality is listed as red for unhealthy. So I got a running shirt, and let's rock the red running shirt. Also, all this outside time has given me a good enough tan, I think. So I got this sleeve to protect myself from getting too tan. So let's sleeve up. I thought I ordered orange, so I'm a little unhappy about this, but let's go hit some 200-meter intervals at the track. Redoing the track for this summer? Is that a thing? Also, it's so hazy out. And this one's locked. I have a permit right here.
Not to worry, I have a permit.
This just says I can do what I want.
I am the director of...
I do not recommend running in unhealthy air to anyone for any length of time. It was terrible, and I woke up this morning feeling terrible. So I did a recovery run on a treadmill, 4 miles easy. But this shirt is soaked in sweat. Very disappointing, because it's also very scratchy, and my head was covered in sweat. So yesterday's was really good. It was like dry at the end. Today's not so much. It's soaking wet. Ugh, who wants to start a run with a big downhill? Let's save it for the way back instead. Well, that's 5K. But I haven't finished my loop yet, so I guess I'm doing another one, and then another one, and then this hill, not sure if you can tell how steep it is, this is half of it, was definitely worth all the gradual down slopes going the other way. I haven't changed my mind yet. If I take one more step, it'll be the farthest I've ever ran. I should have changed my shirt and my armband the last time I was in my car because they're drenched. Luckily, the car's only one giant hill away. Almost timed the waterfall preview, but there's trees. Anyway, it's a waterfall. I am 20.87 kilometers in, and I have either a rock or large blister on the left side of my left big toe. And I don't want to run and pop it and get blister juice on my new shoes. So I'm gonna walk the next 4.1 kilometers. Here was my half marathon time and my final 5K time. It's a rest day today, so I'm not allowed to run. This was going to be the recovery run in the graveyard because I thought that was ironic. But I didn't run yesterday, so it's not a recovery run, it's just a boring normal run. And life pro tip, I suggest popping blisters with a razor blade and slicing them rather than poking them with a needle. It's much easier to get the juice out. Don't take medical advice from people on the internet. That blister got infected and took a week to, well, we'll pretend it's healed. This is my first home run 5K. See ya. About 50 more laps. The first run to the fields. The fields from my childhood, which I featured in previous videos and will probably have in future videos. My first hill sprint 5K. Eventually I hurt my right knee, where now it's got like, I'm not gonna say severe pain, but concerning amounts of pain at all times, regardless of what position it's in. Kind of thinking I might have pulled something. Kind of not liking the string of injuries lately. Maybe I need to stop doing this and just go back to easy, slow runs. Anyway, I'm gonna walk / jog the next 2K. That was my first breathing in and out through my nose the entire time run. Well, like 8% of the time. And it was pretty chill, but I'm pretty sweaty. And then that was like at 7:20 per kilometer pace. Then I did a half kilometer at 6-minute kilometer, which is whatever 30-minute 5K pace is. And I wish I could run at that speed all the time. I feel like that's the lowest speed I would classify as running, where what I'm doing is jogging. One day I'll be running these 5Ks, hopefully. This is my 50th 5K. It's also going to be one of the slowest because the heat and humidity are absolutely brutal. And I've had to take a million walk breaks. But yeah, 50 is 1%. If you round to make even, that goes up to 2%. If I double the amount that I've done, we're now at 4%. I can round up to 5, round up to make even, you get 10%. So as you can see, real quickly getting to basically almost done. So that 1% is a good milestone. Now I need to take a walk break. Not quite, but it feels like it. casual 5K with a 300-meter run at the end to hit a new high heart rate PB. You ever feel like dizzy and unsteady on your feet and decide, let's go do a 10K? Seems like a good idea, right? I've been unable to keep a low heart rate lately, and I've been blaming it on the fact that I keep going out for runs at noon and the sun's really hot. So I decided tonight I'll do it at night and see if it's because of the sun or it's because my sleeping and eating have been atrocious lately, as well as super high stress levels. And the result is inconclusive, because even though it's 10 o'clock at night, it's 80 degrees and 80% humidity. It feels horribly muggy. And this is going to be another 40 plus minute, because I'm in zone 3 right now at a 9 minute per kilometer pace. That is due to talking, but still terrible. 400-meter run, then 200-meter walk, 9 sets. Let's try to develop some threshold here. Heart rate went up to 180 during each of the runs, down into the high 130s after the walks. I kept the pace at like 5:10, I think was the average for all the runs. My legs feel absolutely fine, which is sort of my biggest complaint, is nothing that I do works out my legs anymore because my lungs can't keep up. Oh, I forgot, the second to last run, I jogged instead of run, because on the run before that, I got this like real deep, painful pain in my chest that if I didn't know the whole your heart attack hurts your left arm thing, I would say that's got to be what a heart attack feels like. I thought I was about to die. But I easily get over things like that, so that's why I'd already forgotten about it. So that was slightly concerning in the moment, but I'm sure it was just like some gas working its way through my arteries. Back-to-back days at the track. Celebrate by doing my first backwards 5K. It's so hot. This is definitely using different muscles. Maybe it'll make me sore. Kind of fun. My first raining 5K. My fancy running shoes are still soaking wet, so we're going back to basics. I feel like this outfit is a little bit wasted by running during the day instead of at night, but it's okay. I got plenty of other bright clothes to wear next time. That run felt so good compared to my last couple. It was hotter at 91 degrees, but on the other side, I didn't wear a shirt, had a slightly shadier route, and it was really windy and less humidity, I'm sure. I don't know which one of those it was, but the end result was a much more steady heart rate, didn't yo-yo around as much, didn't have to take walk breaks until 3 kilometers in. That was my first run where I stopped in the middle to buy a drink. Then I drank it and then ran 5K back, and it was a disgusting day. I walk this part. It's like a 5-foot incline. Gives my heart rate a chance to drop like 15 BPM. I think it's time to set another PB. Sub 30 minute, sub 29 minute hopefully. After this warm up lap. Well, I gave up. I did 2 kilometers in 11:40. 12 minutes would have been 30-minute 5K pace, so I was on pace for like a 29:10 or something. Would have been a PB, but I just couldn't handle running at the 178 heart rate for much longer. Could have done a little longer, but not for another 3K. As soon as I stopped running, I noticed my calves are tired, which first I was like, oh sweet, finally, my legs are tired. But now I'm thinking maybe it's just because I was overstriding when I was trying to run fast. my cadence was in the 170s the whole time. So, hopefully I wasn't overstriding too much. I'll look at the length when I'm done. Anyway, still have another 3K to go. I'm not sure if I want to jog it or maybe just try to keep a 170 heart rate, the very top of zone 3. Probably do that one. I do still have a list of, I think there's like 10 or 20 left of like fun 5K ideas. I haven't run out. I just haven't been able to do it. So that's why I've been doing boring runs. Maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, definitely in 2 weeks. That will be an interesting one. I was gonna call this the first wood chip trail. Hello, deer. This is gonna be the first wood chip run. However, it's not all wood chips, and I have integrity. So it's almost all wood chip run. It's hot out here in these streets. The max today is gonna be 94. It's only 84 right now, but it's still freaking hot. This is my first point-to-point 5K, where I'm not ending back where I started. Luckily, my car is at the ending, which is coming up in a bit here. I ran up a hill 3 times and hit a 190 max heart rate. My first Spanish run. I'm here for 2 weeks and I don't like running with my phone. So I'm gonna take clips the next couple days and use those for all my runs. Before now, every other clip had been the day of, or yeah, right before, during, or after the run on the same day. This is a dead end. But all these Spain clips probably took in this town either today or tomorrow. That's the sleeping woman up there. She like fell asleep, turned into a mountain or something. Rip. It occurs to me that color in Spanish is color with 2 O's, and that was Colorado, not Colorado. So maybe it's the Colorado Bridge, not the colored bridge, because I also think that puente, bridge, is feminine, so it should have been Colorada. Unless Colorado is a noun, masculine, then that would make sense. So possibly messed that up, which is funny because I recorded it like 3 times because I kept mispronouncing Colorado. Anyway, this run today, I don't know how this timeline is going to line up. You might not have seen the bridge clip yet. Well, you haven't. It was very slow because I keep stopping to record. But, I mean, that's my excuse. Qué fenomenal. Eso es la puente Colorada. Esa es la puente Colorada. Está muy famoso. Muy famoso. Eso es el puente Colorado. It's a very difficult word for some reason. It's the colored bridge. Super famous. It's all over Spain's Instagram, I'm sure. So I'm halfway through my trip to Spain, and I've learned the following things. The altitude doesn't really impact me that much. It's 3,300 feet compared to like 50 feet at home, but it's fine. The differences are I get out of breath like walking up the stairs, and I can't nose breathe at all, but otherwise it doesn't really affect the running. There's a bowl getting a morning drink. I don't get covered in sweat at the end of my runs, which is wonderful. Although I do sweat, the zero humidity does not instantly remove all of the sweat. The sun is very hot, but when you get into shade, it cancels it out. Running in this 9 a.m. sun is not too bad. I can control my pace, which controls my heart rate. So yesterday's slower run was intentional. My phone said that it was a base training run, as opposed to normally it says I do tempo, even though it's supposed to be base. 1 second. Yeah, what was I saying? Pace matters. Yesterday, 2 days ago, on my 10K run, I ran up this really steep hill, and then at the top I just slowed to an 8-minute kilometer pace and jogged my heart rate back down from 170, which in the US, recently at least, I would have had to walk for it to actually go down because I'd be so covered in sweat. So that's it. Running's been going great. I kind of want to try to hit a new PB, but it's very hard to find somewhere flat. A lot of hills. Yeah. I just attempted 5K PB, and here are the results. Success, 28:40. So the time will be less than that. I'll put it on the screen. 112% running performance. Shows that my watch is underestimating me, but I did run pretty hard. VO2 max for sure. I'm somehow improving both aerobic and aerobic with that run. Best kilometers 5 shows I'm pretty bad at pacing because I was aiming for 5:50 for all of them. There's my pace all over the place, but in my defense, it was hilly. 10 minutes in zone 5. Average heart rate of 170. Look at that bad boy. That was rough. Yeah. What's that want? So there's the elevation. The uphill and then downhill was on road. That next uphill was on a dirt gravel road that was rough, and then the rest on road. Cadence is good. Stride's a little bit long, so the cadence should probably have been a little bit higher, but whatever. And 4.5 days till recovery. So obviously I'm gonna be doing a 5K tomorrow. Possibly 10, possibly 15 via a 5 and a 10. Have to see what the plan is. Have to see what the plan is for the rest of the day, but I'm happy. It's been a long time since I got a PB, and I felt like I was overdue, so. Oh, and I did not feel anything in my legs. No lactic acid buildup, which means it's definitely the lungs / heart, I guess, that are limiting me, not the leg muscles. I don't know what I'd do with that information, but more proof of it. Las vacas no tienen camas aquí. Un caballo. Y las navillas. Today is my last day in Spain, so I'm going to try to reconnect all of my footsteps and redo most of the runs I did all in one run today. Not all of them, because one of the runs was an out and back 10K, so that's a lot to redo, but most of the other ones within this town, I plan on just running on every street in this town. Not sure how long I'll make it. I want to do at least 15K, but we'll see. I have been running just about every day, so maybe I'll get tired. Anyway, the last two runs were the same route. The first one was just with someone else. My first time running with someone else. That's why it was so much faster, like 8 minutes faster or something. And it was 6K instead of 5, but today I'll be by myself and I can go slow again. I'm doing that thing where I run around the cemetery during my lunch break. The sun feels so weak. The air feels so full and heavy. 6:49 that lap. I'm hoping that the days of the 40-minute 5K are over. We're at 13:2 in my 2K, so sub 35 pace. I don't know. It's a little bit cooler today, but it also feels so easy. Good morning. I'm gonna go run, then I'll explain today's challenge. That run was horrible. Even though it's only 7 o'clock, it's not that hot. It's so humid. Felt like pulling my face through jelly the whole time. I'm covered in sweat. I got shin splints for the first time in a long time. My left toes were going numb, which hasn't happened in like 4 months since I fell and did that to my knee, which looks a lot more gross in person than on camera. Anyway, what I'm doing today is the adjusted David Goggins 40-4-4-40 or something challenge. I'm calling mine the 5-4-3-2-1. And I'm going to run a 5K every 4 hours for 32 hours. And then the one is just because there's just one person doing it. So that's a total of 9 5Ks, 45K over the 32 hours. I'm going to run, come back, take a shower, eat, prep my Gatorade for the next run. And then I have 3 hours to rest before I do it again. So far the hardest part was not doing it at 3 a.m. when I woke up this morning. I don't set an alarm on Saturday, so I was afraid of oversleeping. And I kept debating whether I was actually going to do it, but did my first run, so I'm doing it. That'll be difficult. I don't think waking up at night every 3 hours will be that hard. And this will definitely be the fastest one. I've been putting up the times right here, hopefully, of the rest of them. They're all intentionally slower because, yeah, they're supposed to be easy runs. This was not easy. I guess they should call me Let's Quit Everything, because I did not finish my challenge before. I ran at 7 o'clock, then 11 o'clock, then 3 o'clock, then 7 o'clock, then 11 o'clock. Finished at 12, still couldn't go to sleep at 1 a.m. and decided the challenge was not worth messing up my sleep schedule. Because, yeah, I was just not feeling the sleep. So I gave up. Whatever. Today's challenge is to run in a circle, which I'm doing in a field with a couple reference points. But I don't know, we'll see how it goes. Just cruising through the cemetery. Super late at night, as I do, bumping some Logic off my phone, and I ran my fastest 1 kilometer. Don't know how fast it was because I was too busy dying to see my watch, but it's right here. Not a bad run. Today is the last day of August, 129 days since I've started the challenge, and this is my 100th 5K run. I'm gonna cut part 1 of the challenge here because mainly I really don't like running with my camera, and even though most of my runs I haven't actually had my camera, I've had to record something before or after, and it's really not enjoyable. I really enjoyed in Spain when I didn't have to do that. So I'm gonna stop doing it and my runs are gonna be great. I'm still gonna wear my watch and track it, just no videos. So part 2 of the challenge, which will come out eventually, is not, I don't know what it's gonna have, but it's not gonna have daily updates of my running. Very rocky waterfall. The rest of this video is gonna have some charts of the data. For instance, a calendar showing when I ran, color coordinated by how many times I ran that day, or how far, not how many times necessarily. And my times for the 5K, keep in mind, some of them were intentionally fast, some of them were intentionally slow, but the trend should go down overall. and any other statistics I can think of. Here's average heart rate. It does trend down, which I'm happy about. That spike in the middle is from the one that I mainly walked, and that was 127. So I know people are thinking zone 2, I should be in the 130s, but that's literally walking for me, so I do what I can. Here's the volume split across the months. Notice there's no consistency or gradual increase, more just random, because that's how I do it. Heart rate and pace zones that Coros has calculated as of my current fitness. Overall breakdown for all of my runs, including aerobic endurance and aerobic power as my zone 2, even though I shouldn't. But that gives me 59% zone 2. A little bit lower than 80%, but oh well. Here are the PRs that Coros records as of the end of part 1. And then PRs from Strava. These were taken a month and a half after, so they're not reflective of the first 4 months. However, they're not all full efforts. Like the half marathon 2:30, for instance, was zone 2 training the whole time. It was a very casual run. So take that as you will. And that's all I have. I was expecting to be able to export the data from Coros and get more stats from it, but I kind of wasn't able to, so whatever. And then I'm also going to add in a video of my form, because I'd meant to do that many times throughout the challenge and I haven't. And I'm sure in 15 years I'll be curious to see what my form changed. So I'll record that in a few days and add it here. Now it's windy. This is hopefully a 7-minute, 15-second kilometer pace, which is my zone 2, 160 steps per minute. My heart rate, I pretend it stays at 140, but only when I'm not sweating. Otherwise it's like 150 or 155, but that's my zone 2. Six-minute kilometer, my tempo pace, I can do this for an hour with the 170 heart rate, but 430 to 415 per kilometer. I can do this for about 400 meters before my lungs explode. That was my form and pace as it exists right now. I have a huge delay with the pace on the Coros, so I don't know if those are accurate or not, but that was my best attempt at the speeds I said I was going. What won't be here is the rest of my list of cool 5K ideas, such as doing a jump rope 5K, running back and forth on the Benny Frank Bridge, running from one state to another, buying an ice cream cone and not being able to eat it until I'm done the 5K, doing a 5K on the escalators in an airport, etc. A lot of ideas. They'll be filmed eventually, but not in this part, not in part 2 either. I think that's all I wanted to say. It's a big bridge. That's it for part 1. I'm 2% of the way done, so don't ever let anyone tell you you can't do something. If you put your mind to it and you work at it for 3 months, you might be able to complete 2% of it. Or not. Maybe you're a failure. I don't know. Don't take advice from people on the internet. Challenge to be continued. First Irish 5K in Ireland.